Greetings, fellow Planeswalkers.
I'm James.
And I'm Paul.
And you're listening to the newest episode of the Commander-at-Arms podcast. This week on the podcast, we are listing our top 10 scariest tribes because this episode's going to come out about 3 days before Halloween, so it's spooky season. And we wanted to talk about some stuff that was spooky that wasn't like, I guess like rules related or anything. But before that, we have our upkeep trigger to do. We want to thank all of our patrons for your love and support. You definitely help us keep the lights on in the studios here at my house and at Paul's house. And it also helps us to get more content out to your eyes and your ears. If you want to become a patron and help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/commanderatarms. Mail day and interesting finds. Paul, have you found anything or bought anything that has been like delectably delicious?
No finds this week, but I did order a couple more things for the cube. Namely, well, the only thing I've gotten so far from that small batch that I ordered is I got a foil etched Ignoble Hierarch, which a lot of people are not big fans of the foil etched cards still. A lot of people clamor more about the regular retro border foils, but honestly, I've really come to appreciate the subtleness of the foil etched cards. The regular foils are almost like too shiny for me, and I really like the more matte coloring of the foil etched. I
mean, that's fair. I actually have had some decent mail days coming through actually recently. I picked up some stuff for Tulane because I wanted to start like pimping that deck out with foils and whiteboarded cards. So I got the whiteboarded Lana White Elves that Paul calls the poopy art because he doesn't like it, but I like it.
Not poopy art, dissection art.
Sorry, dissection.
It's really a cross section of an open like surgery table elf.
Yeah. So he's telling me there's different artworks that has white border that isn't that art. So maybe I'll pick one of those up instead and put that in there. But it was a 3rd edition. I wanted revised because it goes with my my 4th edition stuff that I have in there as well. I picked up a starter 1999 Man of War, which is the artwork of a giant jellyfish like devouring a shark, and it's also white bordered, and it's beautiful. I love that card and I love that artwork. It's something about a giant jellyfish fighting a shark is just so Australian to me, and it reminded me of home. And the fact that it's a card from 1999 was like, a couple of years after I started playing Magic. Everything about that card for me is an absolute home run.
Are giant jellyfish eating sharks like an epidemic in Australia? Is that something that happens a lot?
No, it doesn't happen a lot, but we do have some decently sized jellyfish back home, especially ones that can probably kill you. So warning alert, if you go to Australia, just don't touch anything. You'll be good. Just don't touch it. If you don't want to touch you didn't touch it, you'll be good. I mean, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Go with a guide, maybe. Find your local, your closest local Australian and let them be your guide to the world of Down Under. Now, after that, I did pick up from the Vault 20 foil Wall of Blossoms. For some reason, it was a mythic in that little release, and I love that card. I love the foiling from the Vault 20, and it's in that it's in the old original border before they did the whole 10th edition changeover and stuff, and modern frames and everything, and it's beautiful. The foiling process on that thing is also fantastic.
Are you talking about the Khans borders?
Was it the Khans borders?
Where they started putting the sticker at the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Khans that they started doing that.
My bad. I'm not really good with all that kind of stuff most of the time. Usually I'm pretty good, but I wasn't sure exactly when that one came out. But I mean, it's from the Vault 20. It's like $1. If you haven't picked one up yet and you want it and you play that card, do it. Because I'm going to pick up a couple more copies of that card because it's fantastic. Actually, shout out to our mate Corey from the Commander crew. He sent me some goodies in the mail just for being a good dude, I guess. We were talking about Najeela and Chatterfang and how they kind of go hand in hand together. And he was like, oh, I have a copy of Chatterfang just hanging around. I'll send it to you. And I was like, dude, you're the best. that's awesome. And then I was building another deck and I needed a Soul Ring for it. And I was like, yeah, man, just throw a Soul Ring in for me because like, like I don't have one and it was in Commander Legends and everyone's got a Soul Ring these days. And he's like, yeah, man, I got you, fam. And I was like, all right, cool. 2 to 3 weeks later, I opened up this package that I get from Corey, and inside is the Chatterfang that I wanted for Najeela and a Command Fest foil Soul Ring. And the first thing I did was message him. I'm like, dude, you didn't have to. Like, what the hell? Like, I would have done it with like $1 Soul Ring. And he's like, nah, man. Like, consider it a wedding present. And I was like, dude, you're the best. Like, that's awesome. And I'm gonna shout him out here, and I'm gonna thank him here, and I'm gonna thank him next time I actually like get to talk to him. That isn't through Discord texting. So, yes, I guess that kind of leads us into the next little section of our upkeep trigger here, and that is we have a deck tech. We talked about it last week. Actually, probably about 2 weeks ago now. We have Hierarch the Desecrated as our deck tech over on YouTube, so go and check that one out. He's an elemental horror, and it's going to kind of play into our theme of today of Scariest tribes. So go and check out that Hierarch the Desecrated list. It's on YouTube at Commander at Arms. I did it a while back now, and the whole reason we didn't record an episode the other day, or I guess last week, was because your boy got married. And Paul was there to celebrate it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was at a brewery, which I've never actually been to a brewery before, so that was a cool experience. We got a tour. We got to see another friend of ours that we played D&D with sometimes. It was a nice day. Had some basically was drinking since like 12 o'clock in the afternoon till like 6. And
it's so good.
I ate a whole calzone and 2.5 slices of pizza. That took the edge off real quick.
Oh yeah, I think after that, like after we ingested a little bit of food, I was like, I'm done drinking for now because like I need food. Like it sobered me up because we started off at Brew Hub because it was like we just did like a pub crawl as our reception. And we were at Brew Hub, which kind of pinpoints our location a little bit. And then we went downtown and hit a couple of like local spots that are really cool. And then ended up at this like janky hole in the wall pizza place where we ordered like pizza by the slice. And yeah, I got like 2 slices of pizza and I couldn't finish my second slice. So I gave it to Paul and he was like, yeah, give me that. 'Cause I'm hungry. Your boy's got to eat, Because yours was the last order of food to come out that time, and like I'd eaten, Michaela had eaten, the rest of the party had pretty much eaten, and you were just like, "Where's my food?" And because you said it was to take out, they were like, "Oh, it's in the it's like in the heaters keeping warm before you come and pick it up to take it away." And I was like, "I'm sitting outside." It was a good time. It was a good day.
For the record, I didn't actually yell at them like James suggested. No, here. It was a very calm.
I embellished a little bit for comedic value for the listeners and the watchers on the YouTubes. And then I guess the last thing we have here in our upkeep trigger to do is the play of the week, Paul. I know it's been a while since you've played Magic. I also haven't been playing Magic all that much. And when I have been playing Magic, I've been still trying to be testing the Hierarch deck to kind of see what are some cards that maybe need to be changed around or kind of added and subtracted from that list. But yeah, what do you have a play of the week?
I haven't actually played Magic this week, but I did play last week. But since we didn't record an episode last weekend, technically it's new ground. I actually played a couple games. I was filling in for a friend of mine. He has a group that he plays with, and he couldn't make it, so I took a spot. And like I said, we played 2 games. First game I played Veyron. I was at like 15 life, I think. I copied a spell like 10 times in one turn. I had Archmage Emeritus on the battlefield with Veyron too, so I drew literally like 40 cards that turn or something like that. I think it was 30 cards. Kept the best 7, ditched the rest, and I was like, okay, well, I'm dead this turn. I didn't say that out loud, but it was in my head. And somehow, despite my friend John resolving a Craterhoof Behemoth, I was not killed. I was not even touched. Everybody just left the Storm player that kept the best 7 cards out of like 40 cards alone. And wouldn't you know it, I won the next turn. On 15 life, I won with an Aetherflex Reservoir. Imagine that, killing 3 players.
I'm so proud. Because that's how I play Magic.
That means I gained at least 150 life that turn for anybody that's not math savvy.
I mean, Aetherflux Reservoir requires you to pay 50. 50 times 3 is, 150. It's kind of quick math, Paul. But, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything anywhere near as spicy. I guess, I have been playing Hierarch a lot, and I did play a game yesterday with some mates back in Australia and another guy that is in the server. I think we've benched him a couple times now, but that's Jared, who's playing his Darina Kudro deck. There was a Galea Kindler of Hope deck, which is the Bant equipment / enchantment deck that came out with the D&D set. And we had a Yara, the First of Lochthwain, I think her title is, the mono black commander that says whenever another black creature ETBs, your opponents lose one, you gain one, and you can sack another black creature to draw a card and lose one, I think it is, or it's just drawing a card.
It's just draw a card. The trigger is the drain.
Yeah, absolutely bloody nuts commander, not gonna lie. And it was just it was Aristocrats deck, so I mean it does aristocratic things. It got to the point of the game where the Darina Kudro player was just going, not really going ham, but had Darina out with Sword of Hearth and Home on it, or like one of the swords. It might have been Hearth and Home. It might have been a different game that I'm thinking of here. Had Shadow Spear, which is giving it trample and lifelink. And obviously Darina is just big herself. She's a 3/3. And the Yara player had a black market with 7 counters on it, and I was like, dang, that's really good. I had Hierarch on the field in 7 mana. I slam dunked as quick as I could. I jumped up to the heavens. I threw this thing down as quickly as I could. An Agent of Treachery on the battlefield and got 2 triggers on it. And they were like, oh, okay, that's a thing. Yeah, all right, cool, no worries. So I stole the Darina Kudro, and I stole the black market, and I was like, they're the 2 biggest permanents on the board right now, because Darina Kudro had me dead to commander damage, and I didn't want the black player to basically try and have 7 black mana in their upkeep. Sorry, in their main phase 1 from black market, which I think was going to go to 8 on the next turn cycle. So it was like, all right, cool. Yep. This needs to happen. I need to try and slow everyone down. Before that in the game, I think it was turn 3. I double ETB triggered it wasn't turn 3. Sorry. I had Hierarch on the field, and I double ETB triggered a Thieving Skydiver for 1. And I stole Jared's Soul Ring and his Ristic Buddy, which is what is that card called?
Esper Sentinel?
Esper Sentinel. Yeah, I grabbed his Esper Sentinel as well. And he was like, why would you do that? I have no card draw, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, because I know that deck, and I know how quickly that deck can go off, and it is a Hate Bears aggro deck. It's a Mardu Hate Bears aggro deck. And I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near that with my Sultai, double ETB reanimator grindy deck at all, because you'll try and kill me. You probably will kill me before I can do what I want to do. So I was able to do that. And then I was just drawing 3 cards at the end step of every one of my turns, and I had Thassa on the field and flicking things, and it was really good. And then my next turn after that, I was going to have a crazy nutty turn of slamming down, Kodama, which then would have gotten me into Seedborn Muse and a Gary, and then I would have done Rune Scarred Demon into something else, and it was just gonna be this nutty turn that I was gonna go and get with Rune Scarred Demon. I was gonna go and get Team of Sabertooth, and then have the Seedborn Muse untapping all my permanents, so then I can just play him back and pull him down. And I would have also gotten the Teferi that gives all my creatures flash, so I could have just, bounced the Gary back to my hand and played it, because Teferi gives it flash every turn, and just done all this nutty stuff. But that unfortunately didn't come to fruition, and the player and the mono black Aristocrats player ended up just bolus citadeling into an absolute win. And it was like, all right, cool, that's fun, that's fair, I get it, I play Aristocrats, I know how it goes. And yeah, it was pretty much my play, was doing Hierarch things. And then There was a game before that where we played in high and we all played to win. I played Tulane, and what you know, they left the Tulane player alone, and I was able to do whatever I wanted. I won the game. Woo! Kind of like leaving the Storm player alone, hey? Never leave the Storm player alone. Always attack the Storm player, because you never know when they're going to go off. Like,
it depends.
I mean, yeah, but every time I've versed Storm, it's always been like, oh, well, here's my opportunity to go off, and bing, bang, boom, bum, done. See you later. Storm wins.
I did literally nothing for like the first 7 or 8 turns of that game. I had one instant or sorcery in my hand, and it was to copy another instant or sorcery.
Yeah, but you still won the game, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but like there's a difference between me doing nothing for 8 turns and then me drawing 30 cards in 1 turn and keeping the best 7.
True. Very true. Very true. All right, I think we've dilly-dallied enough in our upkeep trigger here. It's probably the longest upkeep trigger you'll ever get in any game of Magic. A 15-minute upkeep trigger, unless you're playing like triple, quadruple copies of Paradoxal Haze. Anyway, let's get into our main phase 1 here, Paul. And like we said at the start, we are listing our top 10 scariest tribes. This is like, we're going to preface this by saying we're listing these as if we were going to encounter them as a regular citizen of the plane that those tribes are in. So we're not planeswalkers. We're not big old, raw ourselves. We're just regular old Joes, kind of just going about our business and being like, damn, there's one of these tribes. How do I feel about that?
Yeah, sorry. We have an honorable mention for zombies, skeletons, and horrors, and I'm actually going to throw shades on there as well. These are creature types that, they're a little too cliche for the idea of Halloween. They're obviously spooky, but there's nothing, unique about them in terms of the Magic realm. There is one creature type we have on here that is cliche, but it is rather unique in the realm of Magic as opposed to its real life counterpart. And we'll get into that in just a bit here. But zombies, skeletons, horrors, shades, obviously spooky, but a little too obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of on the nose a little bit. It's like, you don't want to listen to a podcast that kind of regurgitates the same things that people say on Halloween. So we kind of tried to make 10 unique tribes that we didn't think people would really want to talk about, or we could kind of have a fun little spin on. And with that as our best segue, we're going to start off here with number 10. And this is one that Paul put on the list because I think he's more scared of it than I am, but that's tree folk.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you're on a picnic, right? And the tree next to you turns around and says, you really shouldn't eat that potato salad. It's not good for you.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Aren't you going to freak the hell out and just get out of Dodge as soon as you can?
Yeah, I mean, if you see a 6-foot walking tree with a face on it that, it says something like that, I mean, this just brings me back to images of, the Ents from Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
And
never actually seen Lord of the Rings, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh man, you just lost a nerd card. Not gonna lie. I mean, I'm not exactly afraid of heights, but I mean, I don't want to mess with heights as much as possible. And just the thought of being Merry or Pippin, 6 foot 6 foot in the air. Not 6 feet. Jesus, I'm 6 foot. God. 6 stories in the air. I'm trying to think of what it would be here in America, because I know there's just different
at least a few washing machines.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? You're super high up in the air, you're in a tree. I mean, I can't climb all that great anyway, kind of thing. I'm more of a land-based kind of animal. I guess I'm really calling myself an animal here. Tree folks, yeah. They could probably shake the ground and everything as well. And that's not for me. Not at all. No thanks.
Not to mention that there already are horror manifestations of tree folk and the like Mortal Kombat. There's a living forest. That's an actual thing.
Yeah.
Even in Castlevania, there's treants. Treants are a recurring thing in a lot of folklore and culty games. And that's for good reason. Realistically speaking, if you were to encounter a talking tree, you are not going to sit there and be like, "Oh wow, cool." You're gonna run the heck out of there.
Unless you're in that I guess that's the kind of like, that's the difference between like us being in the real world and like citizens in like the magic realm, where if they like saw like a talking tree, they'd be like, oh, that's just the norm. That's just Bob. He's just been doing his thing for the last 100 years. Like, he's good. He's a good tree. Whereas like if you and I were just to be like injected into that plane, would be like more like, that's a talking tree. What the hell? I'm not going to be around here anytime soon. It kind of leads us into the next one. And I saw this tribe on EDH Rec, and I was like, yeah, I could see that. And that's God. So it was put on the list here because I guess it's mainly just like their sheer size. If you have a look at the artwork for like, is it Keranos of the Storms, Carametra, like they're all massive. They're all huge. Like they're all the size of mountains realistically. And like, you wouldn't want to be messing with anyone who's the size of a mountain.
Yeah, not to mention that mountain has the power to like make your life miserable if they want. Most gods are kind-hearted folks, or at least neutral-hearted. But still, they literally have the power. Like Carametra is the god of the harvest. You know, if she wants to make your crops die so you don't have food for the whole year, she could do that.
Yeah, like Keranos, god of storms, could just like literally like put a thunderstorm over your house just to destroy, not even just your house, like your whole town. Like that's the thing, is these things are like, they're, you know, obviously massive. And you've got like Perforos, god of the forge, who has a big old hammer who could destroy anything. Like this tribe on the list here kind of gives me like God of War feels when I was playing that game, because I mean, just again, the sheer size of a god destroying Athens, and you're just a regular, I mean, I wouldn't say Kratos is a regular being, but you are just a regular dude kind of thing. Yeah, that's a big no. No thanks, I'm out. I will respect the gods and everything that they stand for, but I would never want to encounter one face to face, because it would more like be like body to face. All right. So after those two things, we have the next one on this, the number 8. Number 8 is Forexian.
Now, you might be wondering, why is Forexian ranked higher than a god? And it's for the reason I just mentioned a little bit towards the end there. Most gods, with the exception of like, I think Xenagos is actually evil. Not entirely sure on that one. But most gods are neutral or kind-hearted. They really don't care about being aligned with any particular side unless like somebody actively does something evil. They have to be smitten. Smote? What is the correct term?
Smited?
No, not smited. Smote. I think smote is the past tense. Whatever. Irrelevant. But the Phyrexians, I'm pretty sure, do align with either good or evil, which means that, you know, and I think Phyrexians in particular, I don't remember. They are evil, right?
I kind of think they're just like machines, aren't they? They're just like, they just kind of exist to the sake of like overtaking a plane. Because again, I am not lore savvy one bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to try to pretend to be lore savvy when it comes to stuff, to magic stuff. But they were introduced into Mirrodin, right? And there's the oil, the Phyrexian oil that makes them keep going or turned Mirrodin into Phyrexians.
Yeah, that sounds good. Anyway, the point is that unlike gods, Phyrexians can hold an alignment, which means that they can hold a grudge, they can target you for no reason, they can do whatever the heck they want. And for that reason, when you come across this literal like machine-like being that's like dripping oil with like blades for hands or whatever, because Phyrexians look really screwed up, it's gonna be like a terrifying sight. You know, I'm trying to find like a real-life comparison for what it would be like to meet a Phyrexian, but I'm struggling to come up with one.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a real-life comparison, but everyone's seen Terminator 2. Or even just
That's
Terminator.
actually perfect.
You know what I mean? Like it's a living machine that has an alignment that can hold a grudge. It can come after you, and it's never gonna stop. So you're always having to be like one step ahead of you. And what's the worst thing than like not being able to stop is just always being on the move and always having this thing following you. That's the creepiest part. That actually brings me to like, that is a really good point there, because I had a really messed up encounter at Halloween Horror Nights this year when I went with Michaela and her family, which I guess is now our family. But we were walking through a scare zone, and one of the scare actors was just walking behind me, and I never get targeted for these things ever. Like, not even once do I get targeted for these things. But this scare actor was just in regular old plain clothes. He was in like a white jumpsuit because he was pretty much a prisoner or an escapee of this like dystopian futuristic setting that this scare zone was in. And he just followed me the whole way. Like, I mean, like all the way through the scare zone, and even out of the scare zone, he followed me. And I made eye contact with him, and I kept eye contact for half of it as well. And like, I had Michaela's cousins joking with me and kind of like, haha, this is funny. He was giving me the creeps though, man, like actual creeps, bro. He stared me directly in the eyes, got really close to my face, and then just started screaming at me. And I went, oh, dang, you know, like, okay, cool. That's awesome. And the fact that he followed me out of a scare zone, it's kind of what also got me as well, because it was like, hey, like this guy normally has a barrier, but now he doesn't, because he can do whatever he wants, because he's literally getting paid to scare me, kind of thing. And you know, he locked eyes with one of Michaela's cousins, and then he went after him and did the same thing. And then like 10 minutes later, not even 10 minutes later, after it happened, another one of Michaela's cousins was kind of like, oh, look, he's still behind you. And I turned around and I was like, please don't be behind me. Please don't be behind me. It was just this creepy, ominous, like, person who was just staring at me and following me. And I couldn't imagine it also being like a living machine with weapons for hands that would never stop, you know, day and night. Like, I had that encounter with a regular person, and it kind of gave me the chills.
Which brings us to our next point. Why isn't there a Magic the Gathering theme park? No, I'm joking.
I mean, that'd be like, yeah, Maro, if you're listening to this, dude, like, come on, like, you know, get it together, bro. I want a Magic the Gathering theme park, not gonna lie. Just get some dudes on stilts to play like Garrick and stuff, because he's like, what, 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall?
Is Garrick that tall?
I think he's pretty tall. He's pretty burly. He's pretty beefy. He's a big boy.
Huh. I have no idea. But anyway, for Phyrexians, you don't want to see him.
And the other thing is, like, Phyrexians is they kind of go to a place and they just keep, like, multiplying and creating more. And it's kind of also like that, like, the scene in The Matrix where, like, Agent Smith just keeps replicating himself until the whole of The Matrix is, like, just him. That's another thing that the Phyrexians do as well. That is just like, no thanks, like, no, I'm good. You know, they're just gonna like come and just take over the whole planet. So like, they're just no, they can stay where they are. They can just no thanks. I'm good. Let's move on to the next one now, because I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna say no to every single one of these tribes. The next one actually has a lot of real world connections, because we literally already have them in the real world, and that is number 7. We have spiders. Now, I know there are probably a lot of you that listen to this who probably are arachnophobic, sorry. And I'm not one of those people, but that's because spiders here are at least a decent size that I can handle. Now, it's no secret, I am Australian, and we get some pretty dang big spiders back home in the old down unders. And even then, like, I'm not exactly the scariest of them. Like, they don't scare me all that much, but 6 foot, 7 foot spiders, with the ability to like wrap you up and then eat you like a fly, that is a huge no for me.
Not to mention that there's actually like a healthy chunk of spiders in Magic that are known like mass producers. There's one from like Alara that poops out more spiders. There's Ishkana from the second Innistrad block.
Shadows of Innistrad.
Yeah, there you go.
Because that's the one that my brother wants to make. He was like, I want to build this Ishkana deck. And I was like, damn, bro, you're Australian and you want to build a spider tribal deck. I'm feeling it right now.
But yeah, spiders in Magic are notorious for being quite large, you know, almost larger than human size. And by the way, this is the creature type I mentioned earlier, that we have them in real life and they're kind of cliche for Halloween. But in Magic, unlike zombies and skeletons and such, spiders are huge, and in real life they are not so huge. but pretty much any representation you see of a spider in Magic is either a huge spider taking up like an entire cavern wall. I think it's called Dragon Lair Spider is the Alara one that I was thinking about. And yeah, I mean, like, what would be worse than seeing a huge 8-legged spider whose only intention, unlike real world spiders, is literally to hurt you and to kill you.
Yeah.
They just want to trap you and eat you.
To, like, you know, wrap you up and then I guess they kind of like they wrap you up in a cocoon and then they use their fangs to like I think they inject something into you to like to decompose you from the inside and then like suck it all up as the juice is I believe how spiders kind of like feed and like doing it to insects totally understandable, like that's just the way it happens, but thinking that they're going to do it to humans yeah. So I remember watching 8-Legged Freaks as a kid. Not really a scary movie, but just the premise of having, you know, giant spiders all over the place, like knocking down doors and crawling over people's houses and everything. I just, it's not for me, man. Like none of this stuff is for me. I'm good. You know, not really scared of any spiders. I mean, I've got some really good spider stories that if anyone wants to hear them, hit us up on Twitter. I'll elaborate a lot more on my spider stories. But if I was to see like a 6-foot 8-legged freak, I guess can't really call them 8-legged freaks, but an 8-legged spider that just wants to kill me and eat me. I already have a thing about like not needles, but like fangs. I'm not really scared of snakes or spiders. It's more I'm just scared of like their fangs like piercing my skin is more of what I have a fear about them of. So yeah.
Not to mention that one of the things that makes spiders somewhat tolerable in real life is the fact that they're small and you can't really see a lot of the scarier details. Whereas these spiders in Magic, you can clearly see every single one of their 8 eyes or whatever pointed straight at you.
Yeah.
You can see every fiber of the hair on their legs.
Ooh.
Yeah. No thanks.
Ooh. Yeah, nah. Yeah, we're good. I think the best representation I had of this, and no one else probably had this experience unless you've been to Questacon in Canberra in Australia, is they had a spider exhibit and they literally had like a giant spider statue of a tarantula that it was an animatronic that kind of lifted itself up and projected its fangs out like it was going to attack you. And it was I've got photos as well. That if you want to see those, hit us up on Twitter and I'm happy to share those. But moving on here, we have our sixth one, sorry. Before we move on to the ad break here, and that is Sphinx. This was one that you put on here. So number 6 is Sphinx, and this was Paul's edition, and I can kind of see why he put it on here after he explained it.
Yeah. Why would I consider a Sphinx scarier than Phyrexians or spiders or gods or tree folks? Sphinxes are spooky in the same way that tree folks are spooky. They're birds that have a human face, so they're like a regular everyday thing that has a not so everyday thing about it. But what makes Sphinxes scary, I think, is the fact that they are wickedly intelligent. This is just something that's known about them. So not only are you going to be scared out of your pants by the fact that it is a talking bird with your face on it, but also anything that you could actually hold on. Sphinxes kill you if you don't solve their riddle, right? That's like that's the origin of a Sphinx. They don't do that in Magic, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're known for. So yeah, assuming that we're going by that definition of a Sphinx, your chances of dying are actually significantly higher than if you were to meet a god face to face. Because Sphinxes are, largely more intelligent than any of us, and to me, there's nothing scarier than somebody that's more intelligent than you, and you know that for a fact, challenging you to a battle of wits.
Yeah, that's like me challenging you to a battle of maths. I'm gonna lose.
I don't know about that,
but I believe it to be true. I'm not really scared of Sphinx. I mean, besides maybe them just being like, I think it's more of like the uncanny valley that is portrayed with a Sphinx. It's a big winged creature with a human face on it. It's kind of like this is gonna be another deep cut for people who probably don't know it. Is the guardian spirit of the forest, I think it's called, from Princess Mononoke. It's an anime, Studio Ghibli movie. Again, it is a deer with a human face that can talk to you through your mind. That's kind of the way that I think sphinxes are, and it's just that uncanny valley of a human face on something that shouldn't have a human face, that also has wings. That can probably end up, like, if you lose to it in that way of like battle of wits, as Paul said, it can just pick you up and then drop you from a height, and you just die from falling.
And sphinxes are quite large. There's really not such a thing as a small sphinx.
No, even the small sphinxes are still huge. It's kind of like if a tiger had wings realistically and was like triple the size of a tiger, right? With a human face, with a human face that can talk. That's creepy.
Yeah. Except maybe more lion-like than tiger-like.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. That's fair enough. It's not so much like, oh my god, it's scary. It's more just like, that one's kind of just like eerily creepy in like the uncanny valley way, you know, where it's like, it's half humanistic features with half like bird-like features. Yeah. I hope we're giving everybody like the greatest mental images of what we think a sphinx looks like. And with that, we've hit our halfway point through our top 10 list here of scariest tribes. We're going to move through our combat phase, and we're going to hear a message from our sponsors right now. Welcome back from that ad break. We're going to go straight into our main phase 2 here and continue our countdown of our top 10 scariest tribes. Just to, you know, I guess there was no real break there for most people, but tree folk, god, Forexian, spiders, and sphinx were the first 5. And we're going to go through our, I guess this is our top 5 now. So we're in the top 5. And with the 5th one being dinosaur.
So you'll notice that the last 5 we talked about were things that were not scary in the conventional way, but more so like if you were to see these things in real life, you'd probably be spooked just by their appearance alone. Phyrexians, perhaps, for a little more than their appearance. But now we're going to get into things that, actively, other than their appearance, are quite murderous, with the exception of one. We'll get to that a little later. We're going to start off here, like James said, with dinosaurs. Now, obviously, dinosaurs are a real thing. We know this for a fact. We have fossils and such. But I think knowing that they exist and imagining seeing one in person are two quite different things. Like, if you were to actually see a dinosaur, like, trampling down the street, and we know for a fact that dinosaurs are quite large, and even if we didn't know that, you could imagine that they were quite large. Our roads don't really mean anything to, like, a T-Rex or a Stegosaurus or anything like that. They would literally just like step on your house and the whole thing is gone. And if you're inside, I have bad news. You're probably gone too. We would be dinosaur roadkill, more or less, or their dinner, whichever happens first. And I think it's interesting / scary to think about how different the world would be if we actually had dinosaurs roaming the land, you know? Like, what exactly would forests look like? Like, would people still go hiking if there were dinosaurs in the mountains? I don't know.
Bit of a hot take here, Paul, but crocodiles and alligators are distant cousin related to dinosaurs. So we still technically have dinosaurs roaming in the seas, I guess. And people don't mess with gators or crocodiles. I mean, at least I don't mess with crocodiles. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I wouldn't mess with them. To basically pick those up and make like forest versions of them, like a T-Rex. I mean, we've all seen Jurassic Park, right?
Not for a while for me, honestly.
Well,
but,
I mean, still,
I know Jeff
like,
Goldblum's in it.
They're murderous animals that want to murder you in no other sense of the word. They're literally there, like, they are the predator, you are the prey. If they want to eat you, they're gonna eat you. I mean, like I said, we've all seen Jurassic Park. We've all seen the scene where the guy was on the toilet and the T-Rex kind of knocked over the hut and like went chomp straight down on him, and he was a goner. He was a goner. He was no more. He was bye-bye. That's what's gonna happen if dinosaurs were still roaming today.
Yeah, not to mention even the smallest dinosaurs travel in packs, and they literally just like tear you apart while you're walking down the street.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm really bad with dinosaur names, and I really shouldn't be because like dinosaurs are sick, and I was really into dinosaurs back in the day, and kind of still into them now. But there's I think the opening scene of not the newest Jurassic Park, but Jurassic World, where the little girl's playing with I think they're like little, essentially they're like miniature raptors, but they're not raptors. They're like, I can't remember what they would be called. But they were like 7 or 8 of them, and they kind of ripped it to shreds because that's what they want to do. They're just going to eat you. I mean, the only way that you wouldn't probably get eaten by a dinosaur was if it was a herbivore, like a Triceratops or something, or a Brachiosaurus. That wouldn't want to eat you, but they're still big enough and tough enough that if a Triceratops wanted to kill you, it just swing its tail at you and kill you, or stab you with one of its horns. Or if a Brachiosaurus really wanted to hurt you, it would just stand on you and kill you. And I mean, we've got cards like these in the game. I don't think we have any Triceratopses besides maybe, what is his name? He's the 6-drop red card where you attack, you exile the top card of each person's library. You can play Atali. Atali is not a Triceratops. I just realized that as I was saying it.
No, I think Goring Ceratops is, right? The one that gets double strike?
Yes, it is, actually. You are right. I literally have a dinosaur deck next to me. I could literally like pull it out and be like, here's some sick dinosaurs. But then again, you have like the whole thing of saying like dinosaurs also fly. You've got Zetolpa. Like that thing is huge. That's got keyword soup on it, but it is a massive dinosaur that is a pterodactyl. It's gonna pick you up and drop you and then throw you around a little bit and like spit you out and eat you for dinner. Sweet. That's awesome. It's not really, it's scary as hell.
All right, anyway,
it's not fun.
Enough about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are real things. Let's talk about some mythological things that, we don't really have a construct of knowing.
Okay. This next one, it hits me on a bit of a personal level, not gonna lie. And I don't think you know this, Paul, because you didn't know it before you put it on the list. You said Kraken, and I was like, really, Kraken? And then I really thought about it, and I was like, oh, man. So, I don't know if I'm the only one here who ever really experienced this, but like, underwater levels and swimming levels in video games, like growing up, were always the scariest thing to me. I hated games that had like an underworld level. So like original Lara Croft, when you had to go under into the ocean and shoot a shark or something or whatever, or there was like games where it was like literally all about swimming and everything. I couldn't do it. Just the deep blue sea kind of scared it freaked me out. It gave me the heebie-jeebies. So you put this tribe on the list, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have a lot of talk about this one. And that is number 4 we have here is Kraken. So take everything I literally just said about having the heebie-jeebies of water levels and introduce a giant octopusy Kraken thing that's gonna kill you by like crushing your ships and just like devouring you whole.
I just want to say, it's funny that you mentioned the fear of like water in video games. I literally could not play the Hazy Maze Cave level in Super Mario 64 because Nessie.
Oh my god, yes.
In the water there, and I was scared out of my mind of Nessie.
It was the fact of like, for me at least, it was like the floating in the unknown, not having like an adequate escape plan, that if anything was coming to attack me, I didn't know where to go because you're just like in the emptiness, And I can't remember what game it was that really freaked me out the most, but it was like this underworld sea game or something. I have very like vivid memories of this one scene, but I could not tell you anything else about that game. But yeah, I mean, Super Mario 64, what a banger of a game. But anyway,
So the biggest thing that scares me about Krakens isn't really their size, despite the fact that they're humongous, and obviously that is kind of a big deal. But the fact that, like James said, they're underwater, you don't know where they are. Like the ocean's huge, I mean, okay, I'm saying that like they're a real thing, but like in movies or any representation of them, Kraken, like how big is the sea that a Kraken's just going to show up anywhere? Like if you've played Sea of Thieves, I don't know if anyone out there has played that game. Krakens are the scariest thing to me I can take a Megalodon because at least like I can see it, but Krakens, all you see is their tentacles. And I think the scariest representation of a Kraken to me is actually the one that they showed in Pirates of the Caribbean when Davy Jones summoned it. And you see the tentacles come up and crush the ship, and you just see everybody falling into the Kraken's mouth one by one.
Yeah.
That freaked the crap out of me.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I had a D&D campaign start once with a Kraken destroying our ship, and I was like, I roleplayed the hell out of that because I was like, my character would be scared. It's like the sea is huge. It's not, the Kraken isn't the only thing in the sea though. You know what I mean? And they're taking away your only spot of safety, which is the ship, right? And it's the fear of the unknown of what else could be in there and not having it and just being vulnerable. And I think that's mainly what it is for me, is of being like super vulnerable to an attack by a Kraken. So again, if I was to walk out of my recording studio and down the street and saw a Kraken, I'd be running back home going, nope, nope, nope. I'm going home. I'm not going to be here for this one. It's a whole...
Kraken might not be that intimidating in that case because it's on land and it's probably just, flopping up, crowding a whole highway because of how large it is.
Well, I mean, yes, I understand that. Thanks for giving away the fact that I live in suburbia. But anyway, like if I was to go to the ocean and then see a Kraken, I'd be like, I'm cracking it out of here. See you later. Yeah, I had to get that joke in there somewhere. All right, we're in the top 3, Paul. We're in the home stretch. We got 3 left. These are the 3 scariest tribes that we think are in Magic the Gathering, that if we encountered today, we would be packing our bags and moving to Mars. And number 3 is Eldrazi. Like, okay, say everything I just said about the Krakens and put it on land.
Yeah, but literally. I mean, not actually literally, but, Eldrazi are known for destroying everything in their wake, basically. They consume. Obviously, the 3 most well-known ones for doing so are Emrakul, Kozilek, and the third one I'm forgetting, Ulamog. There we go. Figured it out. But, even like the insignificant, and that's a very weird word to use for Eldrazi, but the, quote, smaller, end quote, Eldrazi just devour, which ironically is pretty much what they're known to do. Their original mechanic was, annihilate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're the only creatures to have that mechanic, and for good reason, because that is what they're all about. They just, anything that's in their way, it will be gone by the time that they're through with it completely. Yeah,
again, like, everything we said about Phyrexians is just doubled for Eldrazi, because, I mean, these things are also huge. Like, I couldn't imagine, like, Emrakul just floating in the sky over the top of us. That's like an Alien movie right there. Not like Alien as in like the Alien franchise, but like Independence Day. Everyone was like scared about the big ship coming over the cities, and like all of the cities getting plunged into darkness. That's what's going to happen when Emrakul just kind of floats over your city, but it's got squiddly tentacles on the bottom, and it's going to eat you, and it's going to like pick you up and throw you around and play a game of Uno with someone else and then eat them. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm good. And like Paul said, even the smaller Eldrazi are going to do exactly the same thing. And all they're going to do is really just pick you up and just kind of give you to the bigger Eldrazi to feed them. And
yeah, Emrakul actually scares me because one of the scariest games I played as a kid, unironically, was Star Fox 64. Because if you take the left path to get to Andros at the end, you fight his, quote, true form, end quote, where he turns into nothing but a brain and eyeballs, and he's got tentacles under him. And you fight in a complete arena of pitch blackness. And it is absolutely terrifying, and Emrakul just always reminded me of that form of him. And for that reason, like, that's what I imagine, just, being picked up by tentacles, and you just know that you're dead. It's just a matter of time before you actually get consumed.
Yeah. And like for good reference on sizes of some of the Eldrazi Titans, if you have a look at the cards in Oath of the Gatewatch, I think there's one called Oath of the Gatewatch. It's a green card, and I believe it has The Gatewatch being Gideon, Chandra, Nissa, and Jay standing on a cliff top looking over a plain, and I think it's like a forest or something actually, and you can see the Eldrazi Titans in the background and how big they are compared to like everything else in the foreground. Like, these things are going to come down, they're going to consume everything, they're going to devour the planet, they're going to take it over. I mean, look what happened in Innistrad when they invaded Innistrad. I mean, if we had that happen on like in real life Earth, I'm sure this would have been like, you know, War of the Worlds kind of stuff. And even that, like that broadcast get everyone back in the day as well. So that's just kind of like the alien kind of invasion fear that not really I have, but that's where I can see this being like scary.
I think the card that you're thinking of is Zendikar Resurgent or something like that.
Right? Zendikar Resurgent is looking at them, but I think the card that I'm thinking of is Oath of the Gatewatchers is looking at the Eldrazi.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Because Zendikar Resurgent is looking at them on the cliff top, and I think the Oath of the Gatewatch card, which I'm about to literally Google now, is them looking at the them actually looking at the Titans. Sorry, it's called I've got it here on let me just bring it up in Scryfall real quick, as I will find it there probably faster than I'll find it anywhere else. It's called Call the Gatewatch. Sorry, it's not Oath of the Gatewatch. It's Call the Gatewatch. It's actually a white card.
Yeah, isn't that the one that you can tutor up like to like a planeswalker or something? I don't remember. Can't remember exactly.
If I could type faster on my phone, that'd be fantastic. And if Google isn't trying to autocorrect me into getting something else that isn't what I want. It is a 3-mana white card that says search your library for a planeswalker card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And it's Jace, Chandra, Gideon, and Nissa looking at a mountain ridge, and you can see, I believe that is Ulamog and Kozilek just walking through, and they're like, the mountains that are on them are at least halfway up their waist. So yeah, these things are titanic in their size, and not only could they like devour you and kill you and whatever, they're just going to tromp through every town and city that you can imagine. Doesn't matter where they are, they'll walk through the Pacific Ocean and get from bloody country to country. That doesn't matter to them. They don't need a passport or anything, they'll just walk it. So yeah, Eldrazi's, no thanks. I will.
Now you're probably wondering, what could be
Eldrazi.
possibly scarier than Eldrazi, right? What could be possibly scarier than seeing this large gray titan with tentacles just consuming the entire world in front of your eyes? Well, the good news about Eldrazi is that their process is relatively quick and painless. You know, you pretty much just get consumed and that's it. There's no to do about it. However, the only thing that would be worse than that is something that is quite slow and quite painful. A lot of you may have seen the movie The Blob, which is a movie about basically this gelatinous being from space that comes from, I think, like a meteorite or something. I can't really remember. And it just corrodes everything it touches and slowly consumes it. And for that reason, our second most scary or second spookiest creature type is going to be Ooze. Ooze is a creature type that pretty much, no matter what representation it's in, is something that is known for corroding things like armor, people, slowly, but with digestive acid, and then making it a part of themselves. You know, like even in like World of Warcraft, when you kill an ooze, there's a chance that they'll drop like a chest of, you know, like things they've consumed.
They'll also just drop like ruined bucklers and ruined iron swords and stuff like that. And like, I didn't put, because I mean, I played WoW just for the sake of like, you know, just doing quests and stuff. Never really like taking into like account that when I was killing oozes and getting helmets, that there was literally from a dude that ooze absorbed. And again, just take everything I said for spiders and add it to oozes, because they're like, at least with a spider, you can kind of bunker yourself down and be like, okay, I can't, this spider can't get in, but we're talking about a gelatinous substance that's going to seep through any and every crack that you have in your armor. And when I say armor, I mean like in your like safe space to get to you. Again, like everything we said about like Phyrexians always following you, and Ooze is going to do exactly the same thing, because it is just a mindless killing machine. And I had a D&D campaign, same D&D campaign that started with a Kraken, had an Ooze in it, and it was this, we almost lost the whole party to it, because we went down to this little like house or whatever, and then in there, and this thing opened up, and this little tiny droplet of ooze started coming out, and then it grew and grew and grew as it was like devouring more of the house that we were in, and we had to run out of the house, and we were being stopped by traps and blades and everything else, and like doorways with swinging axes in them, and yeah, dude, oozes. And if you have a look at a lot of like the depictions of oozes in Magic as well, they're usually already like half absorbing people. Like go and check out like necrotic ooze.
There's actually gelatinous cube from the D&D set.
Yeah.
Its ability is literally it consumes something and then spits it out dead. That literally is the flavor of its ability.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is very on the nose, because I mean, gelatinous ooze is a D&D monster, but yeah, I mean, very much so. But like necrotic ooze, acidic slime is an ooze that destroys target artifact, enchantment, or land. So again, like even that is like flavorful of saying like, it can destroy metal, it can destroy like the land around it, and it can destroy like whatever an enchantment would be in the real world, like an item or
Not
something.
to mention that because of the nature of ooze being gelatinous and slimy, it's kind of hard to keep eyes on it. It can sneak up on you very easy, unlike a giant spider or a Phyrexian, which is just, like a human-sized thing. Oozes can literally just like use the ground and slowly, slink its way wherever it needs to go. And it can retreat, like James said, it can retreat into like a sewer, which, there's actual representation in Magic of it doing that. I think there's a card from Return to Ravnica called Gutter Grime or something. Can't really remember. But yeah, oozes, sneaky, deadly, hard to kill. Like, honestly speaking, the only way to really deal with them in any other realm would be Magic. But if you were to find one in real life, let's assume that we don't have Magic. So you're kind of just screwed.
Yeah, you're pretty SOL on that one, honestly. I'm having actually a look, because I have the Ooze Secret Lair, and that came with some pretty damn good oozes. Scavenging Ooze is one, it can essentially like, I see like the exile effect on those cards, on those oozes. It's like it's absorbing them, because you can exile a card and it gets bigger, so like it's absorbing that card kind of thing. Scavenging ooze, necrotic ooze, which I've already mentioned, acidic slime I've already mentioned, but I didn't think about mimeoplasm. Let's exile two creatures, and you get to take one's stats, and you get to take one's you get to become that thing. So like, not only is it gonna kind of like absorb it, but it also in Magic has a way of becoming the things that it absorbs, and that's why it gets our number 2 slot. But we are down to our top pick. So if you think everything else on this list is scary, our top pick is one that kind of does it all. And Paul, you put this one on the list, so I'm going to let you introduce it.
Like James said, what could be scarier than anything we've mentioned? Out of all the other 9 creatures we've mentioned, what if one creature could be all 9 at any given time? That's right. We've got shapeshifters as our number 1 scariest mention on this list. I guess the best comparison that most people might know for a shapeshifter would be, I think what's it called in Harry Potter? Like a boggart or something?
Yeah,
it's a shape-shifting thing that transforms into the thing that you fear the most.
Yeah. Ridiculous or whatever.
That's literally a
spell.
shapeshifter. Yeah, ridiculo or whatever.
Yeah.
That's literally like, they are shapeshifters. That is the Harry Potter realm equivalent of a shapeshifter. So imagine in real life, like, obviously they're not guaranteed to transform into whatever you fear the most, but like, you don't know what a shapeshifter is or isn't. What if a shapeshifter like kidnapped your mom and hid her somewhere and transformed into your mom, and then all of a sudden you're not talking to your mom anymore?
You're talking to a creature.
Yeah.
Or your daughter. I mean, like, it's I'm in a couple of like spooky, scary skeletons like Facebook groups on Facebook, and there is a comic that goes around, and it's like this dad comes into the room, and it's like, oh, you know, like, good night, daughter, and she's like, good night, dad. Can you check the closet? There's a monster in there, and he's like, there's no monsters in there. He opens it up, and there's his daughter sitting there, and she says something along the lines of like, there's a monster in my bed, and then like the next panel is like the father's, like half of the father's face, and you can see the daughter in the background from the bed just like lurching out at them. And I'm like, dang, that in real life, I think would be like terrifying, because not only do we have, so like realistically the lore of like shapeshifters is they will kidnap a baby and then put the shapeshifter baby in place looking like that baby kind of thing. And they'll get raised by regular old humans, and they'll then take their baby and they'll feed on it kind of thing. And I can just like, again, like that's the actual real life lore of like shapeshifters, if you want to say like real life is like, you know, a thing. But like the fact that they have them portrayed in Magic as well with that way. I think there's a card called, is it Crib Swap, that is very similar to that. Mm-hmm. So at least like Magic kind of shows you the lore of like, I guess it's not lore, but like how we as humans and like as regular people perceive shapeshifters to be. And the fact that like they can shapeshift into literally anything at any given point too is creepy as hell.
Not to mention that shapeshifters can come in a lot of different sizes. Apparently, because Morphon is a shapeshifter.
Morphon is a shapeshifter, and he could shapeshift into an Eldrazi Titan if he wanted to, or he could shapeshift into a Kraken or a dragon, which we didn't mention on this list at all. But I didn't really think that they kind of, you know, they're a whole different separate thing by themselves. But anyway, shapeshifters, man, like they're creepy, bro, and they're just creepy in the way that they don't need to be, but they are, and that's about all I have to say on shapeshifters.
Yeah.
So, I hope we didn't freak you out too much. I hope you guys agreed with our list. And if you didn't agree with our list, hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at CMDR and let us know what you think the creepiest and scariest tribe in all of Magic the Gathering is. If you want to check out this episode, obviously you're listening to it or watching it, or any of our deck techs, unboxings videos, or anything else we put on YouTube, you can do that at YouTube, Commander at Arms over there. If you want to buy cards online, get them shipped to your house, and still support local game stores and support us, you can do that through our TCG affiliate link, which is tcgplayer.com/Commander at Arms. If you want to get our Commander at Arms merch, you can do that. In the show notes below, it will take you to our Bad Fred Designs Co., which is the Etsy page that hosts our shirts. Go and check that shirt out and anything else that they put up there as well. If you want to support the show directly, you can do that at patreon.com/Commander at Arms. All patrons get a shout out at the start of the episode, as you've already heard, and you get a shout out at the end of the episode as well. And you get access to the Discord server where you can be able to play Magic with Paul and I. And then after that, Paul, do you have anything you want to say to the lovelies?
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. Even if this is the first and last episode you ever have or ever will listen to, it means a lot to me and James that you took the time to do so, even if it's just a few minutes. You could have done anything else with that time, but you chose to listen, and we really appreciate it. So thank you for that. If you happen to enjoy what you just listened to, please feel free to share our name around with your friends, with your play group. Any groups you might be a part of, just say, hey, I just listened to these guys, Paul and James. They just talked about, 10 spooky creature types, and I think I might actually make like an ooze deck myself and make it really creepy. Just whatever you can do to get our names out there if you liked what you heard. It means a lot to us. The more people we get to interact with, the better. It's one of the cool parts about being part of this huge community. And we like to capitalize on that whenever we can.
Yeah, definitely. I love hearing the community feedback and being able to put like a tweet out and get a lot of feedback from everybody. So yeah, just want to jump in the end of that one there from you, Paul. And with that, I'm James.
And I'm Paul.
And you've been listening to the newest episode of the Commander at Arms podcast. Peace.
See ya.